Alaska's Inside Passage. Grand spectacles. Small delights. Ancient traditions. And newfound freedoms. A journey where travelers can retrace prospectors' gilded trail. Or join in native dances. Some 1,000 islands and a narrow strip of coastal mainland comprise this region. Virtually roadless, waterways serve as highways. The Inside Passage, a 600-mile saltwater route joining southeast Alaska's waterfront communities, has long been the way north. Its sheltered waters protecting the dreams of ancient mariners and modern explorers. Our journey of discovery begins in Vancouver, Canada. A 1.5 million people live here. Surrounded by some of the most spectacular scenery Canada has to offer. Called the Saltwater City by early Chinese immigrants, Vancouver faces the Pacific Ocean. Like a schooner under full sail, Canada Place romances the eye with its sweeping white lines. A world-class trade and convention center, it was built for Expo 86, a World's Fair. This is a mecca for commerce and a major cruise ship port. Each summer, thousands of people board luxury liners bound for Alaska by way of the famed Inside Passage. Cruising north, our ports of call are Ketchikan, Wrangell and Petersburg, Sitka by the Sea, Juneau, Alaska's capital, Haines, and lastly, Skagway. First port of call, Ketchikan. Alaskans call Ketchikan the first city because it is here that northbound travelers enjoy their first glimpse of frontier life. Famous for its rain, Ketchikan receives an average 162 inches of liquid sunshine a year.
Come enjoy the rain and some of the best wilderness you've ever seen in your life.
Local residents make light of the downpour, boasting they don't tan, they rust. Rain or shine, there's plenty to see and do. Ketchikan is a tourist's potpourri. Literally a city in the clouds, much of Ketchikan clings to the steep slopes of Deer Mountain. Weathered stairs and motorized trams lead almost 100 feet up to residential neighborhoods. From here, you can see almost forever. Gravina and Pennock Island shelter Ketchikan from ocean storms. A safe harbor is vital. Float planes are nearly as common as cars. Ketchikan's front porch is its 4.5-mile-long waterfront. This is where cruise ships dock, and tourists and locals mix.
Good morning. We're First City Ladies of Ketchikan. We've come to greet the cruise ships. Welcome people to Ketchikan. This is
Panhandle Pam. Halibut Hattie.
and I'm Ketchikan Kate.
With the same gusto it greets life, Ketchikan greets 500,000 visitors each year. Its feet dangling in the water, Creek Street flaunts its charm. This is Ketchikan's historic red light district. No one knows how many women work the bawdy, boisterous boardwalk, but as late as 1950, there were at least 18 bordellos here. The most infamous was run by Big Dolly MacArthur. 26 years old, Dolly quickly earned a reputation for lavish parties.
It's been a really busy day for us girls down here on Creek Street today. Anybody that goes away from Ketchikan that hasn't seen Dolly's house really misses out.
In 1953, Ketchikan officially closed its red light district, but locals still joke that Creek Street is where fishermen and fish went to spawn. Salmon, steelhead, and trout are reared at nearby Deer Creek Hatchery. The hatchery was built in 1954, when salmon populations were declining from overfishing. Today, an estimated 350,000 juvenile salmon are released from the hatchery each year. Fishing remains an economic mainstay. A power block is needed to hoist the heavy seines or nets used by some commercial salmon fishermen. Great care is taken with the nets, which can cost upwards of $10,000. Ketchikan's commercial fishing fleet fills its hold with king, silver, and pink salmon. Long before purse seiners plied Alaska waters, the storied Pacific salmon was pursued by Tlingit Indians, Southeast Alaska's first residents. Traditional Tlingit dances are performed by the Saxman dancers. At Saxman Native Village, 3 miles south of Ketchikan, local Tlingit share their time-honored stories and songs. In 1896, missionaries attempted to convert the Tlingit, but their 8,000-year-old culture survived.
In our culture, when something is given, something is expected in return. And your return process to us this morning will be that you will join us in a song and dance. We'll take our robe off, place it upon you, and teach you a couple moves in the Tlingit dancing.
Today, Saxman's 400 residents continue Tlingit tradition, in part by preserving the world's largest collection of totem poles. Ever watchful, the unblinking eyes of these cedar monuments continue to bear witness to achievements of the proud people who first ruled this vast northern rainforest. Equipped with hand tools and patience, today's Tlingit carvers create elaborate totemic art. As huge timbers slowly take shape under the hands of master carvers and their apprentices, the rich fragrance of cedar fills the shed.
What I've been doing is just maintaining moisture in the canoe.
Nathan Jackson is internationally celebrated for his work. Elaborate, elegant totem poles, each one a legend.
Well, what's going to happen on this is there's going to be water added up to about here. That bulkhead is going to be taken out, that one section right there. And then hot rocks are going to be added to it.
Still more of these silent storytellers can be found at Totem Bight State Historic Park. The 15 totems displayed here were brought to the site in 1938 and restored with the help of the Civilian Conservation Corps. Interpretive tours are offered by park guides fluent in the archaic visual language of totems.
Labrae. What is it? You see her lower lip? Women of high status in their society would have a labrae, which could be made out of wood or bone or seashell, could be carved in the lower lip. And it's right in the lower lip, and that's how you know that that's a woman. And if you may have noticed on the pole...
These skillfully carved totems reflect the region's unique history and Southeast Alaskans' reverence for the near magical wilderness in which they live. Misty Fjords National Monument is only a flight away.
We see the mountains, we see snow, cascading waterfalls, occasionally some goats, some other wildlife like bears, deer. The main thing we key on is the mountains that have been carved out by the glaciers, leaving all the high mountain lakes and cascading waterfalls.
As our plane gains altitude, humankind's handprint slowly fades. Beneath the wings, a 2.2 million acre wilderness, explored 200 years ago by Captain George Vancouver. Eons ago, ice thousands of feet deep covered this area. As the glaciers slowly receded, they gouged deep channels, also called fjords. Today, waterfalls spill over 3,000-foot sheer granite walls. Solitary, serene, a magnificent fusion of rock, water, and sky. Continuing north, we stop briefly at Wrangell and Petersburg. Wrangell is 85 miles northwest of Ketchikan, at the tip of Wrangell Island. Tlingits, Russians, and the British fought for control of Wrangell before the United States raised its flag here. A sturdy frontier town, many of Wrangell's 2,000 residents earn their livings fishing the salmon-rich waters and logging in the surrounding rainforest. Few cruise ships stop at Wrangell, but Alaska State ferries regularly bring visitors and supplies. Leaving the waterfront community, we enter the Wrangell Narrows. A thin saltwater ribbon between Kupreanof and Mitkoff Islands. For mariners, this is one of the most challenging stretches of the Inside Passage. More than 70 navigational aids mark the 21-mile-long channel, guiding vessels through shallow waters. At the end of the Wrangell Narrows, Petersburg is a welcome sight. One of the most active fishing ports, fishermen pursue salmon, halibut, herring, and shrimp. But fishing is not merely work. It is a tradition, established in 1891 by the Norwegian immigrants who settled this seaside village. Many of Petersburg's 3,000 residents still speak with the lilting accents of their great-grandparents. And each May, the town celebrates Norwegian independence with lutefisk and mock Viking raids. Sitka by the sea. Nestled on the west coast of Baranof Island, Sitka was once renowned as the Paris of the Pacific. Today, it's known as one of the friendliest towns in Alaska.
Hi!
Hi.
How's it going?
Good, how about you?
Good!
We got up this morning, walked through the town, and we all said the same thing. Gee, isn't Sitka a nice, clean, lovely town? This is paradise.
Yeah, it is.
This is paradise.
"3,000-foot mountains guard the town's back. Dozens of tiny islands shelter Sitka's face from the blustery Pacific Ocean. About 8,000 people live here year-round, as much at home on the water as they are on shore.
Bye!
Hi.
Kent Hall drops off his wife, Beverly Min, at their island home and heads for work. A day on the water. Susan Roberts and Barbara Blackie are wildlife biologists living and working on a tiny island in Sitka Sound.
Mail call.
The mail!
Hey, is there a Susan Roberts here and a Barb Blackie?
It can be cold and lonely, but they endure with an enthusiasm typical of
Anything
Sitkans.
for me to take back?
The funny thing about our work is about the isolation is people feel sorry for us, and our heroes like Kent bring us fish. We come paddling out to the boat, and I guess we look all bedraggled and wet and cold and hungry and skinny. They give us fish. It's kind of like trick-or-treating. You know, we come up to a boat. What do you have for us today? Kent gives us cookies and sodas. People take care of us. It's great. Sitka's a great town for sure.
Okay, I'll give you a push off. See you next time.
Thanks, not too far.
Don't get wet.
That's right. Thank you. Thanks.
Wrapped in luxuriant wilderness, Sitka inspires a free-spirited artistry.
What grade are you in? I'm going into fifth. I'm playing violin, and I just opened my case, and people put money in it, and I put most of the money in the bank. Sometimes I put down a sign that says Juilliard or Best Thank you. Actually, I want to be an astronaut or a paleontologist.
The arts flourish here. From Main Street galleries to Whale Park on Thimbleberry Bay. Sitka's urban charm is enhanced by an abundance of natural splendor and a rich heritage. Totems, silent sentinels of Tlingit history, line a forested pathway in Sitka National Historical Park. Minutes from downtown, the park features 15 totem poles. Each one tells a story. The Sitka dancers bring to life Tlingit history. New Archangel Russian dancers delight audiences with spirited performances. At nearby Sitka National Historical Park, the early conflict between Tlingit and Russian cultures is recounted. Early Tlingit clans fought to retain their dominance, but were no match for the Tsar. In 1802, Sitka became the Russian capital of territorial Alaska. Reminders of Sitka's past are everywhere. This is St. Michael's Russian Orthodox Cathedral, the seat of the Russian Orthodox Church in Alaska. The building is a replica of the church built in 1844, which was destroyed by fire. A dramatic reminder of the Russian Orthodox Church, St. Michael's delicate spire enhances Sitka's skyline. Another notable building is the Russian Bishop's House, a two-story structure built in 1842 by Finnish shipbuilders working for the Russian-American Company. It was home to the clergy who came to Alaska with Russian explorers and traders. Elegant furnishings and appointments made this an opulent outpost. A strenuous but short climb leads to nearby Castle Hill. From a fortress here, Alexander Baranov, first governor of Russian Alaska, had a sweeping view of the frontier kingdom under his command. Across the way, there is a handsome red-roofed building. This is home to some of Alaska's sourdough settlers, pioneers of the last frontier. This was the first of several state-funded retirement centers built for Alaska's pioneers. Glorious gardens of native plants surrounding the home are open to visitors. More than a city with a well-preserved past, Sitka offers unique opportunities to learn from nature. At the Alaska Raptor Rehabilitation Center, visitors are virtually eye-to-eye with eagles. An innovative wildlife project, the nonprofit Raptor Center is the life-or-death difference for many birds of prey.
Good. Well, this is Volta, and he came to us because he had a collision with a power line, and he crushed several bones in his chest and in his wing, so he cannot fly well enough to hunt and be released.
One of very few wild bird clinics in the world, the center also treats falcons and owls.
I want you to evaluate the patagium. Make sure that there are no adhesions. That's an example of good tenodesis.
Vicki Vosberg, wildlife veterinarian, works closely with volunteers who help care for wounded birds.
Feathers are fanning out nicely. I'm not pulling the feathers up. I'm just pushing down on the wrist and pushing up on the elbow. I've wanted to be a vet since I was 10. I'm very lucky to have this job because this place means a lot to people as well as to birds. This is Schwarzenegger here, and he came to us about a year ago with a gunshot injury, and we did surgery, but he's just not going to be able to make it in the wild, so he's going to be placed. We place about a third of our birds, and we release about a third of our birds. Released is where we put them back into the wild, and we can only do that with fully functioning birds. Placed, they can go to a zoo, they can go to a breeding facility. These are the birds that we do not feel are suffering, but they can't fly well enough to be in the wild. Yeah. I think this center gives people a chance to see up close what they are saving when they're out there trying to save the world.
Wildlife thrives in this pristine coastal environment. Southeast Alaska's deep saltwater fjords are the prime habitat for marine mammals.
Our final destination is generally in the vicinity of Salisbury Sound. Salisbury Sound.
Humpback whales, weighing up to 40 tons, are often seen here.
Okay, there it is. 11 o'clock position again. Okay, here it is. For the tail.
Humpbacks are known for their dramatic leaps and haunting vocalizations or songs. Salisbury Sound also is home to the playful sea otter. Hunted to the brink of extinction by early fur traders, sea otters are protected and making a strong comeback.
Sea otters will eat between 25 to 30% of their body weight every single day. Those males, they get pretty big. They'll be up to 5 feet long, up to 100 pounds in weight. Females a little bit smaller, about 60 to 70 pounds in weight. And female will just give birth to one pup in the springtime, every other year. It has been known for them to give birth to two, but just one will survive. It takes a lot of care for that mother to bring up one of them.
Along with the occasional mail call, Kent Hall operates charters to St. Lazaria Island, a protected nesting area for puffins, Alaska's most colorful bird.
I've always enjoyed birds, and I like showing other people the birds and wildlife in Alaska. Most people get excited. There's a lot of people that just want to see a puffin, a live puffin, and it's exciting for me when they get excited.
With its starched shirt and dinner jacket plumage, this tufted puffin appears ready for a night out. But as the afterglow of a summer sunset fades, the puffins go to roost, content as any sitkin, on land or sea. Our next stop, Juneau, capital of the 49th state. The largest city on Alaska's Ocean Highway, Juneau receives an estimated 500,000 visitors each year. Most arrive aboard cruise ships. Home to some 30,000 Alaskans, Juneau is America's most scenic state capital. Isolated by high mountains, Juneau is accessible only by water or air. In summer, locals and tourists jostle elbows in downtown. As many as 3 cruise ships arrive on any given day. Some vessels are so large they dwarf Juneau's downtown. Trolley cars roll along the waterfront. Trolley operators recount local lore, including the story of how Juneau got its name. Harrisburg was the town's original name. In 1880, prospectors Richard Harris and Joe Juneau struck gold at Silver Bow Basin, and a tent city sprang up. Local resident Steve Nelson picks up the story.
Are in a battle. First they're partners, right? And now they're in a battle over who's going to get the town named after them, right? So for a while, the working title for this community was Harrisburg. But then, the night before the big vote, that the whole town was going to go out to the polls and decide what's the name of this town really going to be, this guy, Joe Juneau, buys everybody in town a round of drinks. So, Juneau. That's what stuck, and that's what we're called today.
A far cry from the wilderness site Harris and Juneau fought over, the city still boasts its boomtown beginning. One of the world's largest gold strikes was made here. It wasn't long before miners replaced their gold pans and pickaxes with dynamite and earth-moving machines. High above town, on the steep western flank of Mount Roberts, hangs the rusted frame of the once great Alaska Juneau mine. To some, the AJ is a scar on the landscape. To others, it's a working man's monogram on what is today a white-collar town. Mining gave Juneau its name, purpose, and land on which to expand. Half of all the homes and offices downtown are built on earth excavated by miners and dumped into the sea. At Marine View Park, bronze sculptures pay homage to early hard rock miners. And to Patsy Ann, a dog who rushed to greet the fortune seekers who staggered off steamships. On Chicken Ridge, Juneau's Nob Hill, is the historic home of Judge James Wickersham, who brought order to lawless Gold Rush, Alaska. Assigned first to Alaska's Interior Gold District, Wickersham stamped out corruption and claim jumping. Later, as Alaska's delegate to Congress, he worked tirelessly for statehood. This stern 6-story building is Alaska's Capitol. Built in 1930, it first served as territorial headquarters. Statehood was not won until 1959. Only then was Alaska's distinctive blue and gold flag flown. Like most southeast towns, Juneau is a city of steep climbs. There are a few places you can stretch out. At the Davis Log Cabin, Juneau's Tourist Information Center, visitors can relax before starting the hike up Franklin Street to see St. Nicholas Russian Orthodox Church. The tiny octagonal church was built in 1894 at the request of a local Tlingit chief. These rare religious icons are venerated by Orthodox parishioners. and used as a focus of meditation and prayer. Visitors are welcome. The church is one of the most photographed sites in Juneau. This impressive colonial mansion is the official residence of Alaska's governor. The pillared two-story home could easily be in Virginia, but for the dramatic Tlingit totem. Notice the figure with the long pointed nose. That is a mosquito, Alaska's unofficial state bird. Extensive renovations have restored the mansion to its 1912 splendor. A portrait of William Henry Seward, architect of the Alaska land purchase, is prominently displayed. In the course of refurbishing this drawing room, workers discovered a treasure on the mantel of the fireplace, the territorial seal of the District of Alaska. The greatest treasure of all can be seen through this window. The Alaskan outdoors. For adventure travelers, little compares to the excitement of a sightseeing trip over Mendenhall Glacier. Powerful beyond imagination, this massive river of ice is an ever-changing landscape. Crushed rock and other debris churn up as the glacier advances and retreats. Deep crevasses fracture its surface. Although the surface appears lifeless, there is a thriving population of minute black worms. Dismissed as a hoax, ice worms really do exist. The small thread-like creatures feed on algae and organic debris blown onto the surface by the winds. Flowing from the 1,500 square mile Juneau ice field, the Mendenhall is as emblematic of Southeast Alaska as the waterways. At the northern end of Lynn Canal, Haines.
There must be some sunshine in Alaska. There is blue, if you look carefully. Look, look, look. Could that be an eagle up there? It is, right? It is. Looks impressive. Beautiful. Look, look.
Even on a misty southeast morning, Haines' come-hither charm is difficult to resist. The welcome is warm, and cascades of color spilling from flower boxes brighten the town, advertising Haines' normally moderate climate.
I think it's beautiful, the flowers. That's probably what impressed me most. I'm stopping at every flower pot. It's incredible.
This is actually one of the drier spots in Southeast. Fewer than 2,500 people live year-round in Haines and nearby Chilkat Valley. But more than 175,000 travelers visit each summer, swelling the population 70 times. Still, the pace is easygoing, the folks friendly. There's no shortage of sights to see. Haines offers shopping, first-class museums, and wide-open wilderness. But the main wilderness attraction is a wintertime activity. As snow begins to fall, an estimated 3,500 bald eagles gather along the Chilkat River to feed on a late run of chum salmon. The raptor's sharp trill, echoing throughout the Valley of Eagles, was one of the first sounds heard by soldiers arriving at Fort William Seward. Built in 1904, this was the only Army post in Alaska for nearly 2 decades. Deactivated after World War II, this spit and polish post has been converted to private residences and travelers' rests. Former officers' quarters are now luxuriant inns. But like all Southeast towns, Haines' heart is its harbor.
Four months a year, this 15 miles of water out here is my life.
Glenn Jacobson operates a water taxi between Haines and Skagway.
My office window is, my gosh, we have 7,000-foot peaks on both sides of us. Here it is, the middle of August, we still have snow in the peaks. I mean, it's a very happy place to be.
Finally, we set anchor at Skagway. The northernmost community on the Inside Passage, Skagway is tucked between mountains and sea in a long, narrow valley. This is the terminus of the Alaska Marine Highway System. A popular destination, Skagway will do almost anything to entertain visitors, even raising the dead.
How you doing, ladies and gentlemen? It's good seeing you. I'm sitting here now on one of the streets here in Skagway. It's a little town right on the coast here of Alaska, and it's good seeing all you people again. I know most of you people think I'm dead, but I'm starting to believe I am dead, you know, after 2 million people tell me that, so I'd like to welcome you all to heaven, because you all made it, ladies and gentlemen. I'm proud of you, you know.
If it's summertime, it's showtime.
Across the snow-covered mountains and glaciers to rushing Klondike, where the yellow god has been sporting in the turbid
Gateway to the historic Klondike Goldfields, Skagway is part theme park.
Welcome to Skagway. We're the Derby Brothers. The Undertaker's in town. We drive the antique motor cars, the Skagway streetcars. Give sightseeing tours to all points of interest. Nothing like it in the world. Where's Elvis?
Well, you ain't never caught a rabbit and you ain't no friend of mine.
This town, with some 700 year-round residents, caters to almost 200,000 travelers each summer. One Skagway catered to a different crowd.
Hi.
Tourists are invited back to those rowdy days, when loose ladies and tent cities were the norm, and a stampede could be started with a single word: gold. In Skagway's Liarsville, past is present.
Don't look so concerned, folks. It's all going to pan out.
Summer stock sourdoughs teach gold panning to chichacos.
Get rid of that sand and gravel.
There it is. There it is.
Yes. Well, then, you need to go up soon to the Yukon, take yourself a claim, and start looking for it.
Chichaco is one word Alaskans use for newcomers, in particular, those who have yet to survive a winter.
when the ice worms wriggle their purple heads through the crust of the pale blue snow.
The brutality of the frozen north inspired countless ballads.
And the icicles hang down like tusks from
Bean Grits recites The Cremation of Sam McGee by Robert Service.
Then the door I opened wide. And there sat Sam, looking cool and calm, in the heart of the furnace roar. And he wore a smile you could see a mile, and he said, "Please, shut that door. It's fine in here, but I gravely fear you'll lit in the cold and storm. Since I left Plumtree back in Tennessee, this is the first time I've been warm."
The coast mountains rise sharply, a daunting barrier between Skagway and the Klondike. Modern explorers can easily conquer these 7,000-foot peaks. Flight seeing tours offer travelers a unique experience. Soaring above Taya Inlet, snow-capped peaks and rugged rainforest, adventurers are transported to Valley of the Glaciers. Landing on the ice, travelers explore a frozen otherworld. Movements are slow, exaggerated. Although bound to the earth, the stark expanse creates a sensation of weightlessness. For many, to walk here is to tread on the moon. Airborne again, one cannot help but wonder what agony stampeders must have suffered attempting to scale these peaks. Prospectors headed for the Klondike by way of Chilkoot Pass had to cut stairs in the snow and ice as they climbed straight up. Called the Golden Staircase, many found the route more a road to hell than the way to heavenly fortunes. The lucky barely survived the ordeal. Countless dreamers died, delirious with gold fever. Today, hiking enthusiasts may retrace the steps of gold seekers without risking life and limb. Managed by U.S. and Canadian Park Services, the trail runs from Daiya to Lake Bennett, British Columbia. The 33-mile Chilkoot Trail is littered with relics of the gold rush, left behind as prospectors lightened their loads. But it is the wilderness, untamed, unforgettable, that stirs the soul. Skagway once boasted a population of 20,000 hopeful souls. Those who call Skagway home today are filled with the pioneering spirit of the Stampeders, and they embrace frontier freedom.
Fresh air is my favorite.
Uncrowded. Fewer rules, regulations, and taxes.
There's a dollar in my hand. Yeah, right. The king is my home.
Wandering Broadway, the town's main street, we find many buildings dating back to gold rush days. This building, completed in 1899, was the headquarters of the Fraternal Order of the Arctic Brotherhood, a benevolent order similar to the Elks Club. The facade of the building is made of more than 20,000 pieces of driftwood, arranged in a basket weave pattern. A gold pan full of glittering nuggets is mounted near the top. Over on 7th Avenue is a Victorian stone fortress constructed that same year. This was Alaska's first college. Today, the building houses City Hall offices and the Trail of 98 Museum. The elegant offices of the White Pass and Yukon Route Railroad have been restored and serve as National Historical Park headquarters.
Any of the first 5 cars behind the locomotive.
The railroad, which began operation in 1890, still makes regular runs to White Pass Summit, where Klondike-bound prospectors started the second leg of their journey. Passengers ride in turn-of-the-century parlor cars, but a modern diesel engine is used to haul the train up the narrow shoulder of the mountain. The ascent is riveting. The only narrow-gauge railroad operating in the United States, riding this train remains an adventure. Before ending our journey of discovery, we fly over nearby Glacier Bay National Park and Preserve. The park encompasses 3.3 million acres. Flowing from the snow-capped Fairweather and St. Elias Mountains, 16 tidewater glaciers plunge into frigid waters. Massive fields of snow and ice, thousands of feet thick, feed North America's largest glaciers. Groaning under the weight of fresh snow, the glaciers crawl toward the bay. Their progress recorded by dark streaks of crushed rock, sediment, and organic debris. Against this backdrop of ragged peaks, snow, and ice, Alaska's history unfolds. "10,000 years ago, humans were drawn to Glacier Bay, just as we are today. Flying low over rocky ledges and lapis-colored lakes, we experience nature as an irresistible force. Alaska's Inside Passage. Beneath this lavish display of icy peaks and high blue skies, we find what remains of Eden, reflected in the sea. Alaska's Inside Passage. A journey of discovery.